Hello Futaba fans, I'm Ron and I'm here to talk to you today about the Futaba 14Sg and an easy way to set up your flap programming. I'll say from the very beginning I don't claim to be any kind of an expert, but I have found this to be a very effective way of doing it. It is fairly simple to do and it does not cut back on your versatility one bit. The servo mounting that you use in your model is going to affect how some of these functions on here are set up. You'll have to do it a little bit different, but I don't think it'll be a big problem for you. It just depends on whether your shafts are going in an opposite direction or the shafts are going in the same direction. You want to adjust your arms on your servos to the neutral position, and then you want to have the arms themselves basically 90 degrees to your flap hatch. Want them vertical if that makes more sense to you. And then we will set the up and the down position as we get into the programming. So anyway, I have two flow charts that spells out everything that we're going to do, take you through it step by step. These flow charts are going to be posted on YouTube along with the video, and you'll be able to download them in a JPG file, print it out, save it to your computer for future use, whatever you choose to do. At any rate, we'll be getting into the programming in just a moment, so I'll get everything set up as far as the transmitter is concerned, and we'll get started with the programming. Alright, you'll notice I've got my transmitter on already into the demo mode here for the model that I am using. At this point you should have your flaps installed in the model. You should have your servos in the neutral position with the arms as close to vertical or 90 degrees to the servo hatch as you can get them. Maybe a little variation from one to the other, but get them as close as you can, and then we'll take care of the small deviation with the programming. At this point also, you do not want your push rods connected, not until after we go ahead and get our adjustments done on the travel. So the first thing we want to do is go to the link menu, 2 taps, go down to model type, select. Alright, you'll notice here, and this is critical, 2 ailerons, 2 flaps, normal tail, airplane type, 2 ailerons, 2 flaps. That's the way you want to select it at this point. We want to have 2 flaps. Now I'm only using 7 channels. I've got the receiver. It's the R7008SB receiver that comes with the 14SG. We are only going to be using 7 channels on this, even though it's capable of 14. There's a lot of models that you don't really have to have 12 or 14 channels for. So we're just going to do this to demonstrate how to set up our flaps. But we've got a couple of things that we've got to do. So we have the 2 aileron, 2 flaps selected. Now the only problem that this will create is that we're going to change it in our function menu to where we only have 1 aileron channel that is working. It's really not going to create any problems. Most of the time you don't have to have aileron differential. That's about the only thing it will deny you. But the differential on your ailerons can easily be taken care of just by taking your adjusting your servo arm on your gear and move it one tooth mark towards the down direction. That'll take care of the majority of any differential movement that you might need. So anyway, we're going to back out of this right now, and we're going to the function menu. Enter the function menu, go to the second page. Now you'll notice here the transmitter is already set up for aileron 2 on the 6th channel, and flap 2 is actually on channel 8 with flap being on 7. So we're going to make some changes here. First thing we're going to do is go down to channel 6, select the aileron 2, tap it. We want to change that to flap 2. Alright, now we're going further down, and our flap 2 model is going to be changed to aileron 2. We're just reversing the position of these two functions. Alright, so now we've got flaps on channel 7 and flap 2 on channel 6. Aileron 2 has been moved to the channel number 8. We're only going to be using 7 channels as we do this demonstration. So, we've already changed that now. We're going to back out of the function menu, and we're going to we're already in the link menu, so what we're going to do, one, you want to keep your receiver power off at this point. If it happens to be on, go ahead and shut it off at this point. Now then, we're going to go to the flaps. We're right back in the function menu actually to do this. Could have done it while we were in there a minute ago. We're going down to the flap menu. Alright, this is set by default to LD. We do not want that. We're going to take this and we're going to change it. I'm putting it on switch G. That's 3-position switch right up on the top right of your transmitter. I like it that way because I always like to have my switch up towards me when I'm looking at the transmitter for up flaps, all the way down for full flaps, and of course halfway down gives me the half position flaps automatically. Alright, we've set this to switch G. Let's just go ahead and back out of that. Now we're going to go into the model menu. We're going down to flap set. Now we should have already had the adjustment on our servos to where those are pretty close to being even. So what we're going to do here, this gives us an adjustment for the amount of flap or flap 2 up and down both directions. The first thing you want to do is any small adjustment that is needed to get the two arms parallel. All you have to do is go down and select the offset on either one of them and move it however you need to get the two arms parallel. Sometimes it doesn't want to take my input. Alright, we're leaving the flap adjustment set to 100 in both cases, up and down for flap and flap 2. Any offset that's needed, you adjust it right here. Now then, at this point, if you need to make an adjustment for, say, the down position, just select it and dial back to wherever you need it, to where you're not getting your servo arm bottoming on the end of the flap hatch. Whatever you position for one side, you want the very same thing on the other side. That way the two are going to be moving together all the way down. The only thing we have done so far that would affect that is the offset that we've placed on one of the servos if it was necessary. But they are still, even though they start from a different position, slightly different position, they still will move together the same amount. And that's what we're after. Alright, let's back out of this now. Now before we go on, we want to set dial LD. That's your left side dial. Set LD to where it's in the perfect center position. You'll get a little beep when you've got it totally centered. Very important at this point. So after we have that centered, what we're going to do is go down, go back to the link menu, and we're going to the function one more time. Second page. At this point we want to assign assign the trim for flap to the left side dial. Now then, we want to go back up to flap 2, and we want to assign, once again, flap 2 to the left side dial. So, we've got the flap assigned to switch G for major operation. Don't have to do it to flap 2 because the programming automatically keeps these two things together. So switch G will operate both flap and flap 2. But you have to specify LD for both of them on your trim side. Now one thing I didn't show you here, when you assign this, you can go over and you have a rate adjustment. You can put that rate anywhere you want to. The actual default on it is -30. We're going to turn it down to -20. And that's going to give us some very fine adjustment for the flaps off of the trim. Alright, let me show you something on this, on LD, here on the flap channel. is assigned to LD. We go back to the rate and back this off to 20. Now you'll notice here we had a plus 20 for the flap channel, and then we had a minus 20 for the other channel. That's necessary because it's necessary in order to get both of them moving the same direction. Now then, what this is going to do, and we can just go out of this at this point, what this is going to do is allow us to make small trim changes to the up position of the flaps as it fits against the trailing edge of the wing. You'll notice on a hot day or on a cold day it's going to be different than it was on 2 days prior to that or whatever. Sometimes they'll vary from one day to the next. I don't like to allow a gap between the trailing edge and the flap, and I certainly don't want the flap coming up a little bit higher than it should because of the expansion in the rods, and it's buzzing and putting a load on the servo when it shouldn't be. So anyway, we have gone ahead and we have made this provision. Alright, next we'll be going and setting up some down elevator. We have our flaps now set up, so the next thing we're going to do is look at applying down elevator when we apply the flaps. Majority of the planes, at least the ones I fly, I primarily fly warbirds and scale type models. But when the flaps are deployed, first position, sometimes it doesn't happen until second position flaps, but you will get some ballooning as the flaps are applied. That can easily be corrected with the application of a little bit of down elevator operating off of the same switch, which we're using switch G, at the same time that the flaps are deployed. So let's go ahead and set it up. We're going into the model menu, second page, camber flap to elevator. This is the way the screen will appear when you first go into it. First thing we want to do is go down here to the inhibit and activate this function. Activate, select. Now we're going to the switch position. We're going to use the same switch as we do for our flaps. So we go down to switch G, select it, and now our on-off comes up and gives us the opportunity to go in and change or set our switch position the way that we want it. This is different than the way that I use my flaps, so I'm going to go down. First thing, select, change that to off position. Then it comes up on in the mid position and on in the full flap position. That's exactly what I want, so we can just back out of that. Alright, we're back to our camber flap to elevator. We want to move over to our mode. Mode A is where we are by default. We only have 2 rates here. So we'll select the mode. We'll change it to B. It asks if we're sure. Yes, we are. We select it. We have 3 rates available to us. Rate 3, the way that we have everything set up, rate 3 is actually going to be our up position flaps. So that's going to stay exactly where it is. So we're going down to the mid position, and we're going to change that to about 6%. Then we're going to rate 1, which is going to be our full flap position. We will change that to about 15. I'm using percentages here that have been commonly used with many of the planes that I'm flying. That will get everything functioning for your first flights. You may have to go in and make some adjustments after you do your maiden flight, but it's not going to be very much. So it takes very little to accomplish that. All right, we've got that set, so we can come right back out of the function. There we go, and we can back right out. All right, I appreciate you taking the time to watch the video. I want to tell you that I hope that the time you have spent is going to be some time that's going to be helpful to you when you go and setting up your flap operation. Hope you'll have a good day, and I wish you happy flying. Alright, this is little mock-ups that I've set up here just for this demonstration. You'll notice I've got my two flaps set up here, my elevator servo using the receiver that I had told you, the 1400SB. We're only utilizing 7 channels on this. The way we've got it, this would be the trailing edge back here of your wing, and the servo is going to go across that direction, pulling motion for the flap. Up flaps, mid position flaps, and full flaps. And you may have to adjust this a little bit on the end according to your linkage setups, your hinge line, that kind of a thing. But that's a very simple thing. You've already seen how you can adjust it right in the flap set menu. You'll notice here, I'm going to try and hold this up to where you can see it. It's a very small movement that you get, very minute movement with the arm on your flaps when you activate the flaps. I mean the arm on the elevator servo. Does not take much. So this would be a good starting point, and then after you do your maiden flight, you'll be able to set it up, make any adjustments that need to be made as far as increasing the throw or decreasing the throw. Alright, we already have our flaps set up, and for 90% of the aircraft out there, that's all you'll have to do to it. But when you get these flow charts, I have made a step 6 on the flow charts because there are occasions where mid flaps need to be offset from center. The way we have done the flaps, they automatically, whatever amount we've set up for the full flap position, when we're in the middle position of our switch, it just cuts the amount of throw for the flap in half. Mid position. Makes sense. Doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand it. But there are aircraft out there, and as I say, it might be 10% of them, I don't know exactly, but you need a little bit less flap than half flap for takeoff, or in some cases you may need just a little bit more. This step is not necessary, as I said, for most of your aircraft out there. But if you find that you need to back off on that half position flap a little bit for takeoff, then this is the way to accomplish it. So what we're going to do is we're going to, 1, select the model menu. Then we're going to go down to the dual rates. Now here on the dual rates, right here is the function that we're looking at right now. And it just shows you exactly what happens on the graph as I move the aileron stick across there. Now then, what we want to do is cursor down, select, and just go through there, and you'll come up with a flap screen. Enter that. Now then, just leave your throws exactly where they are. We've already got our throws adjusted. Should have them adjusted at this point. Go down here. This allows you to offset we've got a straight line function right now. It allows you to change that. So you select it. Now you see what we've done is we have lessened the amount of throw here in the first position, but we still have not altered the full flap position. So you're still going to have the same amount of throw, it's just the curve has changed. You've got less throw in the first position flaps. So this is the way you'll handle it if you need to do this. I'm going to put it right back where it was because, like I said, for most models you don't need that. And we can go over here and just back out of it. And that should take care of virtually any situation that you need to handle as far as your flaps are concerned. Remember, I told you at the very beginning that I will have both of these flowcharts available to you for download, be in a JPG format, and then you can save them to your computer. You can print them out whenever you want to, save them into a file however you want to handle it, or you don't have to do it if you don't want to. At any rate, I appreciate your time. I hope this is going to help you a little bit and help you handle the intricacies of getting your flaps set up. Have a good day.